Hello, I'm Matt Dolly, and this is another edition of Viper Bites. We are going to continue our team-by-team preview series, and we're heading out west to the San Francisco 49ers. But before we talk about the 49ers season that was and what to expect here in 2023, make sure to take a second and hit that like and hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers team. A San Francisco 49ers team that went 13-4 just a season ago, scoring 450 points while giving up just 277. That was a points against differential of 173. When you're outscoring your opponents by that much, it's easy to see why you're having success and why you're an early favorite for a Super Bowl appearance in 2023. Now, looking at this a little bit further, their passing offense, it was 14th in the league, averaging 223.1 yards per game, and that saw multiple quarterbacks at the position last season. Their run offense, 7th in the league, 136.8 yards per game. And defensively, they were even better. Their passing defense was 16th in the league, giving up just 217.2 yards per game, while their run defense, second best, allowing just 82.5 yards per contest. Now, you know you had a significant season when the NFL literally has to change the rules because of what happened to your franchise. San Francisco, they found themselves in that NFC Championship a year ago with Christian McCaffery taking snaps under quarterback against an Eagles team that took out Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson along the way. Even before those injuries, the 49ers had lost Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. Sometimes things happen for a reason. Lance and Garoppolo's injuries and misfortunes turned into opportunity for Mr. Irrelevant. When Purdy eventually took over, he would lead the San Francisco 49ers on 9 consecutive victories, including playoff victories against both Seattle and Dallas. With the 49ers teetering feelings towards Jimmy Garoppolo prior to the season and the uncertainty of what they truly had in Trey Lance, San Francisco may have finally figured out who their quarterback of the future is. I mean, they're telling you right now that Brock Purdy is their quarterback, but for whatever reason, everyone out there is trying to say, hey, who's going to be San Francisco 49ers quarterback? They may literally be telling us who it's going to be, especially when he returns healthy. Now, the camp battle that we're going to look at least when we talk about the quarterback of the future of this team, right now, Brock Purdy, we know that he is recovering from that elbow surgery. So Trey Lance has been taking those first team reps, and he's looked pretty good. It'll be tough for the team, though, to bench a quarterback that led them to the NFC Championship. But they did invest a lot of draft capital in Trey Lance, and they did have Jimmy Garoppolo lead him to an NFC Championship not too long ago, and he still wasn't the solution to this team. By all accounts, right now, the recovery for Purdy has him right on schedule to return on opening day, and the team has been encouraged by his throwing sessions. Now, when we look at this draft class for the San Francisco 49ers, they didn't have a pick until the third round when they selected Jair Brown, the safety there at pick number 87. Pick number 99, they went with a kicker, Jake Moody. Hey, why not? And then later on in the third round, pick 101, Cam Latu, they're the tight end out of Alabama. Pick 155 in the fifth round, cornerback Terrell Luter. Fifth round, pick 173, Robert Beal Jr. And then in the sixth round, pick 216, linebacker D. Winters. They weren't done there because they had lots of late round selections here. Pick 247, tight end Braden Willis. Pick 253, wide receiver Ronnie Bell, and pick 255, linebacker Jalen Graham. When we talk about offseason additions and subtractions, sometimes the rich, they just get richer. Defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, cornerback Isaiah Oliver, quarterback Sam Darnold, edge Clelin Ferrell, center John Feliciano there, and kicker Zane Gonzalez to compete with Jake Moody. Although I think that's kind of a moot point here right now because it's going to be Jake Moody who is kicking field goals for this franchise. Their losses, we already talked about Jimmy Garoppolo there, right tackle Mike McGlinchey, linebacker Aziz Al-Shahir, cornerback Emmanuel Mosley, edge Charles Amanu, safety Jimmy Ward, defensive tackle Hassan Ridgeway, guard Daniel Brunskill, and kicker Robbie Gould. Now, the best move that this 49ers team made throughout this whole offseason, how does a team that was second best against the run somehow get better? They signed the best available interior lineman on the market, and that's what the 49ers did when they signed Javon Hargrave. Hargrave, he's going to step in there and play alongside Eric Armstead, who's no stranger to playing with talented interior linemen. After all, he was playing with DeForest Buckner for a few seasons prior to this. Hargrave, he is coming off a 60 tackle season in which he also had 11 sacks for the Philadelphia Eagles. The 49ers figured, hey, if you can't beat them, make them join you. San Francisco got better by making the Eagles weaker, which is a better move for them when it's all said and done. Now, the worst move that the 49ers made we shall see how much the loss of Jimmy Ward and Emmanuel Moseley hurts this defense. Moseley only played in 5 games last season, but in 2021, he had 11 passes defended along with 42 tackles in just 11 games. While Jimmy Ward had 3 picks in 12 games to go along with his 50 tackles. It was pretty solid manning that nickel position. I think the 49ers finally figured out how to use Jimmy Ward, and now he is no longer there. Well, what needs to happen for this 49ers team? They have to stay healthy in 2023, especially at the quarterback position. New league rules will allow teams to carry 3 quarterbacks every game, and the 49ers will roster Purdy, Lance, and Sam Darnold, who all have experience as starters in the league. The 49ers, they're going to have some difficult matchups here this season. They face off against the NFC North, and they have home dates against the Cowboys while also making trips to Minnesota and Jacksonville. If the 49ers can continue to play good defense, and that means getting some better pass defense along the way, then the 49ers should have no problems winning 12 games this season. I've got them right now at 12-5. Now, the 49ers, despite rolling out 3 different quarterbacks last season, still put up 450 points and that is some serious fantasy production. So I ask you, who are the top 5 fantasy assets for the San Francisco 49ers team? At number 1, it's Christian McCaffery, who trailed only Austin Eckler in PPR scoring, and he will be primed with a full season in this Kyle Shanahan's offense to do even more. If you include the 49ers playoff run from weeks 8 on, McCaffery would average 19.5 fantasy points per game. At number 2, Brandon Ayuk. Watching Ayuk run those routes and with them hips, it has me excited. I mean, that doesn't sound very good, but hey, I'm excited nonetheless for what he can do here in 2023. And this is all coming off a 78-catch, 1,000-yard season. Slants, digs, posts, you just can't cover this man. Number 3, Deebo Samuel. Samuel had previously averaged 2.05 yards per route run in each of his previous 3 seasons. Injuries were a primary reason for a significant dip. When looking at the production, he was poor. He wasn't very good. That said, he still led all receivers in yards after the catch at 8.8. At number 4, George Kittle. Hey, when you're good, you're good. And when you're great, you're great. Over Kittle's career, he is averaging 9.8 yards per reception while being one of the best after the catch tight ends in the league. Kittle may have only averaged 51 yards per game last season, but he did have a career high 11 touchdowns. And at number 5, Brock Purdy. It's hard to imagine the 49ers turning the other cheek here and going towards Trey Lance when Brock Purdy is ready to roll, considering how he closed out that 2022 season. Purdy lacks that rushing upside that Lance has, but he knows how to distribute the ball and get it to his playmakers. So now that we know the top 5 fantasy assets for this 49ers team, who is the fantasy player that you have to roster off this squad? It doesn't get any easier than this. It's Christian McCaffery. He can run it in for a touchdown. He can catch it for a touchdown. You know what? He can even throw touchdowns if you asked him to, and he did it all in 1 week last season. After being traded away from the Panthers to the 49ers, McCaffery ran for 746 yards, caught 52 passes for 464 yards, and he did this all in just 11 games. While we are excited about Christian McCaffery as a top 3 fantasy option in most of our drafts, we cannot forget about the splits there when Elijah Mitchell is on the field. Most notably, rushing attempts would go down from 18.2 without Mitchell in the lineup down to 11.2 when Mitchell is there. So that is something you have to watch for. And if you are drafting Christian McCaffery, make sure you're grabbing Elijah Mitchell a little bit later. The biggest bust potential on the San Francisco 49ers team, it has to be Brock Purdy. Entering year number 2, defensive coordinators now have film to work with. They know what Brock Purdy likes to do. And it's all in this Kyle Shanahan offense, which actually kind of protects Purdy to a degree. It limits his mistakes and it protects quarterbacks generally from themselves. There was a reason why Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. Now, we love ourselves some Rags to Riches story, but not everyone can be Tom Brady. When looking at Purdy, he has to generate all his power and get everything he has to generate any kind of velocity. Now, Purdy, he is likely to start the season as a starter, but I'm not even sure if he's going to finish it. Everything went right for Brock Purdy until that injury, and expect that story to play out for a second season in a row. I think that's really wishful thinking here. Now, the best fantasy value on this 49ers team, what does Brandon Ayuk need to do to get some respect out there? Ayuk was just one of 22 receivers to record 1,000 yards last season. Deebo Samuel, he was not one of those 22. Ayuk was top 15 in fantasy points. Samuel, he was barely top 40. Yet here we are in June, into July, and Deebo Samuel's being selected according to his ADP around the 3rd round at wide receiver 16, while Brandon Ayuk is available in the 6th round as wide receiver 33. Even by Samuel's own admission, he said, and and I quote, "You cannot guard Brandon Ayuk in a phone booth." And he's coming off a year in which he had a career high in targets, receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. If he continues to be a top 25 in target share and yards after the catch and yards per route run, a new career year could be on the horizon for Brandon Ayuk. That's right. He could be even better in 2023 than he was in 2022. And the fantasy sleeper for his 49ers team, if history has taught us anything in fantasy, it's that if you have a very good running back that you invested high draft capital into, you have to make sure to grab their backup. And that is a must here when we're talking about Elijah Mitchell. Mitchell has to be feeling the heat coming on from Jordan Mason, who is trying to push his way up the depth chart. But Mitchell, when healthy, we know that he can be a lead back. Last season in 5 games, Mitchell averaged 6.2 yards per carry, turning 45 attempts into 279 yards, and was used often even when McCaffery was available. Taking it back even further, back to that 2021 season, Mitchell would play 11 games and came up just 37 yards short of 1,000, averaging 87.5 yards per contest. When you have the running backs that the 49ers have, all you have to do to win games is run the ball, don't turn it over, and play great defense, and expect that to be the similar formula being used here in 2023 for the 49ers.